Master Reddit, subscribe for more videos.
Serious, parents of Reddit, what's something your kids do without realizing it hurts your feelings? My 5-year-old daughter said she wanted a new mommy because I don't have a pretty face. She didn't realize it would be hurtful, I guess. Edit, whoever gave me my first ever gold can be my new daughter. It's gonna be a big shock to her the day she learns about genetic inheritance. My 12-year-old son basically ignores me as much as he can. It's puberty and it's all normal, but a year ago I was still his favorite person and now it's all about his friends, girls, and video games. And I'm the uncoolest person on the planet apparently. I made him go for a walk with me and the dog the other day just to try to have some conversation, and he said, "Why do you make me do things that make me unhappy?" To which I responded, "Spending time with me makes you unhappy?" And he said yes. I told him he could turn around and go back home then, and he did. I cried the whole way to the dog park. Edit, holy shit, I can't believe how this blew up, and this is my first gold, so I say thanks, right? For the record, I did have a discussion with him later about how his comments hurt my feelings and he apologized and gave me a hug, and he's been better since this incident. I also try to do things with him that he likes, even though I ask him questions and have learned all about Fortnite. I'm still intimidated to actually get on and play LOL. I give him a lot of space and independence, and I continue to love and support him even when he's being a little shit. I know his moments of shitheadness are normal, but I do tell him to cut it out when it gets too much, and he tries to be respectful of that. He is actually a great fucking kid and I will love him to the moon and back his whole life no matter what he says to me. I'm always there for him. Edit 2, I'm the mom. We went out to lunch yesterday and to a store that has cool video game stuff. He said thanks. We had a nice time. Sounds like my 14-year-old. I wanted to go on a hike with him. He suggested the next week, as we had more time. Wednesday. On Tuesday night I brought up the hike and he literally asked if he could go help his friend paint their house. He didn't want to go on the hike that he had helped plan, and doesn't want to hike with me even though he does it all the time with Boy Scouts. I went on that hike without him and frequently muttered "fucking asshole" while I was out. I guess it made me feel a little better. He stayed home, mowed the lawn, and cleaned his bathroom. Kid Rock said once that he took his kid and a friend to the movie theater. His son and the friend didn't want to sit next to him because it's uncool to sit with your dad. Then it hit him, every person in that theater would love to sit next to Kid Rock, except his son. Which means he must be parenting correctly. I heard a similar story from a Billy Joel interview, years ago, so I have no source, can't guarantee that it's true, where his daughter as a preteen got embarrassed when he sang along with the radio while driving her and her friends in the car. People pay a fortune to hear Billy Joel sing. To his daughter, he was just another parent singing to songs on the radio. My almost 3-year-old twins often tell me I'm not invited to their birthday party. I always said I was gonna marry my mom when I was like 3 because I didn't know what marriage was. Whenever I got mad I used to yell, "I'm not gonna marry you anymore," and my mom just laughed. I don't know if these happen all over the country, but in the South they have these father/daughter dances in elementary school. I always thought they were ridiculous and a little creepy, so I had zero interest in ever going to one, but I have daughters so I knew there was a chance I would end up at one of these abominations at some point. I never made my opinion known to my girls, just something I would gripe to my wife about from time to time. My oldest daughter came home one day with a flyer for the daddy-daughter dance and she was pumped to go. I thought to myself, great, here we go. But I sucked it up and pretended to be just as enthused as she was to go. I was dreading it, but honestly I would endure much worse to see my girls happy. A couple of days before the dance my daughter asked my wife to take her to get a nice dress and shoes. My wife told me later that I really need to take this seriously because it was all she had been talking about for a week. I figured I would go along with it, and if she was going to look great, damn it, so was I. So I went out and bought myself a nice outfit for the affair, complete with shoes and everything. I rarely buy myself anything, so I just knew the gesture of her seeing me wearing new clothes would give her a big kick on the day of. I hid my clothes so they would be a surprise. The more excited she got, the more I looked forward to it. Maybe I had judged the dance too harshly, and it's nice to go out and have fun with your daughter. It started to dawn on me that maybe we don't do enough together, and it made me feel I really need to spend more time bonding with her. I felt like maybe I was kind of a shitty dad and this dance would be the beginning of turning over a new leaf. I found myself actually excited for this goddamn dance. I couldn't believe it. The day if I rush home and get all ready and then I come out and she's dressed super nice and she's beaming when she sees my new outfit. Mom took a bunch of pictures and we were all set for a great time. We arrived at the dance and I'm looking at all the other dads in jeans and t-shirts and I'm thinking, My kid must be so proud of her dad. We go into the gym where music was playing and everyone was congregating. I give my daughter a giant hug and say I'm so happy we came. She says to me, "Oh hey, that's my friend over there, I'm going to say hi." My daughter never came back the rest of the dance. I stood there on the wall watching every other dad in jeans and a t-shirt dance with their daughters and mine never did. She didn't say a word to me, just hung out with her friends. When her friends went to dance with their dads, she just hung out with whoever was in at the time. I stood there in my outfit listening to song after song, embarrassed and sad. The longer the dance went on and the more songs meant to be about dads and their daughters, the sadder I got. To the point at the end I was fighting back tears. I had stood in the same place for 2 hours because I didn't want to move in case she came looking for me. But she never did. At the end of the night she told me about how much fun she had with her friends. I tried my best to act like I had fun too. She was completely oblivious as to me being a wallflower the whole night, sad I was forgotten. When I got home I went to my room and locked the door and cried. She had no idea she was hurting me that night. And I kept it that way. It's not the best memory. I'm a mother and I went as the photographer to the father-daughter dance at my daughter's school. While there, it seemed as if the little girls just wanted to hang out and be silly at a dance. I watched the same expression sweep over my fiancé's face as he realized that it was not about him. I had to literally pull her away from her group of friends to get enough photo opportunities to feel it was worth it. It felt like maintaining the hierarchy in their social circles was much more important than being there with their dads. Please don't take her wanting to hang out with her friends at a school-funded party personally. My fiancé did too, and it broke my heart to hear that you cried. As soon as they see that sea of pink and purple dresses, they're gone to search for their besties and show off how cute they look. Little girls are complicated little creatures, and although they may love us at home, when their friends get involved, we don't really exist. I hope this gave you some insight. Internet hug. When I drop them off at a party or day camp and I go to say bye, they've already gone off with friends. Kids are getting older now, so it's not cool to kiss or hug dad goodbye, but man, it stings, and I sure don't want to embarrass them, so I just sadly walk to my car. Maybe say your goodbyes in the car so they know how you feel, but gives them the freedom to go off on their own. I'm a very old dude who usually lurks Reddit. I made an account to comment on this post. I wish I could say I had a lot of influence in the raising of my girls, but that wasn't the way that things turned out. I did a lot of dumb shit, as did my ex-wife. She was in prison for a stint, and I was in and out of prison throughout my daughters' lives. My younger 2 daughters were raised by my ex's dad, while my oldest daughter was raised by my dad. Their lives were polar opposites, that is for sure. My ex's family came from money, our family had money and lost it all. We lived in about as much damn poverty as is possible. Rock bottom. Didn't help I wasn't around to contribute much. I wasn't allowed to see my 2 younger girls much. Their grandpa hated my guts. I understood that. I did not understand the way they treated my dad. He was the most hard-working and honest man I ever knew. If something was broke, he was over there at your house with tools to fix it without even needing to ask. Never was late to anything in his life. I remember we had all the girls over once for 4th of July. We were grilling up some burgers on a brand new grill. Spent more than we should have on this, but we didn't see them all together very often. A lot of whining on my 2 younger girls' part. They'd rather go to McDonald's, we had Mr. Pibb instead of Dr. Pepper, and so on. But what got me was when one of my younger daughters said, "We want to go home, your house is dirty and, oldest daughter, doesn't have any good toys." I'm damn glad my dad was almost deaf at that point, because hearing that would have broken his heart. My oldest daughter did hear though. She was about 8 at this time. I'll never forget the look on her face. There weren't any tears, or embarrassment. She just looked blank, staring off into space. There were other stories and moments like those. Too long to write. Eventually my 2 younger daughters changed their last name from mine to their grandpa's. They stopped accepting contact from my dad and me. Presents for birthdays and Christmas were returned. The feel-good part of the story comes from my oldest. She's an adult now. I knew when she was little that her other grandpa and sisters were bribing her. With toys and with their nice house. She would come home and tell my dad or me if I was around. The response I had at that time was, "Is that so?" No more, no less. I did get up the courage to ask her why she stayed with dad instead of going to live with her sisters. When she was older, she said to me, "I felt like Papa had nothing else to live for. I wanted to stay because I knew he loved me and needed me around. I loved him too, he was always trying his hardest up until the day he died." I knew even back then that was more honest than people who gave me new toys and would ask me if I would rather live with them. I feel like I have to point out that my dad lost all his money because he spent hundreds of thousands trying to save my mom. Diabetic coma. I was in prison at the time and they wouldn't let me out to say goodbye. He spent all the money we had and sold the lake house trying to keep her alive. After she passed, he was a shell of a man. The only time I did see him even remotely smile after that was when he was looking after my oldest. So what she said hit me deep, let me tell you. She is my pride and joy. I wish I could have given her more, but I know my dad made up for it even though there wasn't much to give. She appreciated everything even as a kid. She's smart as a whip. Got a full ride scholarship. Taught me how to use the internet and type on the keyboard. She was hit by my dad's death hard. Harder than me maybe. But she is strong. Pretty. Even though I let her down, she's always been there for me. Through my heart disease. My damn broken hip. I lost my balance and hit my head pretty hard a few years ago and she flew out here to take care of me. A lot of hell in our lives, but she beat all the odds. My other daughters. Well. They would like to pretend I'm not their dad. I know I will get pissed on for saying so, but the feeling is mutual. I feel like given every opportunity they have managed to squander and waste it. They are entitled brats. The way they treated my daughter, my dad. I know my oldest was trying to get close to them. Shit hit the fan when they came asking what they got out of my dad's will after he died. He had nothing but the house we lived in and the clothes on his back. Gave every damn dime to raise my oldest. They returned every present and letter he ever sent them and they come asking for handouts? I've never seen my oldest daughter snap until that moment. Guess she managed to get my temper after all. I know I didn't have much influence in any of my kids' lives. Maybe I have no right to be proud. So I thank my dad who sacrificed everything for my daughter. Thank you for raising her to be a damned good woman. Also thanks to anyone who wasted the time to read this old guy's ramblings. We miss you, Dad, R.I.P. I'm divorced with split custody. My ex has a large extended family that lives nearby and they are always together letting the little cousins all play together. My family is the exact opposite, live hours away and nobody young to have play dates with. So, weekly my 5-year-old cries when it's time to go to my house because it's not as fun as Dad's. I am on a budget and can't afford to take her out every week to the zoo or movies. Every single dollar is budgeted. It makes me cry often when I see how excited she is to go to his house because mine is boring. I just want her to know that I'm trying. Edit. Thank you all for the comments and messages sharing your stories and ideas for the two of us to try. You've made me cry more than I should admit and you've given me a little more hope that one day she'll appreciate me. I can't give her fancy trips or everything her heart desires, but I think just being the best mama I can be will mean more. One day. When my daughter gets a night terror at night, she will tell me crying, that she wished I died instead of mommy. She hasn't done it for a couple of months now, but it hurts more than I can bear. I calm her down and get her back to sleep and usually go to my room and cry. Edit. Holy crap, Reddit. You guys have been truly supportive from day one of my loss, and it's kinda weird to have complete strangers to give condolences as well as advice. My 4.5-year-old daughter screaming I hate you and I don't want you as my father anymore during a tantrum, or after I discipline her. She has no idea what she's saying, and she doesn't mean it, but it still stings every time. Basically toddler cussing. I have a daughter who at that age would firmly say I don't love you anymore. It killed us. Took a long time for her to knock it off. Best response, I still love you all the same. Your kid will remember that. My dad used to tell us I love you, and I am choosing to like you right now even though you are being a jerk. I am almost 40 and I can feel the security blanket of those words like whoa. Loving your kids, and liking your kids, can be two very different things we're learning. On the other hand, I had a buddy whose dad straight up told him during a drunken stupor, son, I love you because you're my child, but I've never really liked you. My teenage son came across some old wedding photos that his dad had put away for him at his office. When his stepmom discovered these photos, she became upset, so my son threw them away to avoid the drama. These photos were 24 years old. There are no duplicates and my son doesn't understand why I'm upset that he didn't just bring them to me. How the fuck old is this kid? That's completely ridiculous. He's 16. I am a long-time widower. Me and my son were left alone and used to be really close. After he moved to college, he used to call every day. I lived for that phone call. Gradually they started decreasing from once on 2 days to once a week. Now he has a girlfriend and rarely talks to me. I sometimes watch his Instagram and feel sad. I wish he would call more. My mom kind of has this issue. I have a life and move on, she never calls. She has a phone, I have a phone, we all know the numbers. Pick a dull time, Sunday morning or something. Call. When my son begs me to help him make something in the garage and then in the middle of explaining to him how we're going to do it, asks me if he can go play Minecraft instead. Before the year boring comments we were designing a fidget spinner in CAD to print on the 3D printer. He was doing the work himself. When they reference my wife's boyfriend about anything, hurts every time. We're not even divorced. She has listed him as a parent on forms. I like Dad, he's more fun. Look, I don't like being the disciplinarian, either, but I feel like I have to sometimes. Sucks to be seen as the less preferred parent for doing something I wish I didn't have to do in the first place. I used to like my mom way more when I was little because of this. My dad was the disciplinarian. Now that I'm older and about to move out, I sincerely appreciate all the discipline and strictness. Is that a word? That came from my dad. Do discipline and raising your kid the right way and they will deeply appreciate it. Edit. I feel like most parents who worry about their kids not liking them won't be too strict to make that a reality. But I agree, don't overdo it. Do what you would have wanted, in hindsight of course, as a child. Every morning as a kid I was always woke up to the sound of my mom singing. It was her way of wake up, it's time for school. I'd sometimes wait beside my door or pretend to sleep just to listen to her more. When I was 10, I was in a bad mood and my mom was singing while driving. I yelled at her, "Stop singing. You don't even sound good." She stopped singing after that. Right now he's a toddler so he's just hardwired to be a bit of a jerk, but it bothers me when I get him up in the morning or come home from work and he doesn't want to hug me or tell me about his day at all. Also, he begs me to play with him but when I do he generally takes whatever toy I'm using or tells me I can't do that. Get yourself a sweet Batman toy and kick his toy's ass with it. Both of my kids make a lot of comments about my body and some of them can sting. Last week my 5-year-old said my arms were like bags of cookie dough. Less than a month after having a baby, my 6-year-old asked me if I was going to start working out so my belly would go down. I said thanks. And she said no, not in a mean way, I just want to hug you closer. Good save, kid. Rolled a critical on the diplomacy check. When my daughter was 5, I let her watch The Lion King. She's a fairly emotional little thing, so we were concerned about how she'd react to the death of the father. We get to the scene, and I'm watching her carefully, but there's no big reaction. This is a kid who cries during some commercials. Anyways, I don't beg the issue and let it roll. Later in the movie she asks where Simba's dad is, and I think, here we go. I pause the movie and talk with her about how he died in the stampede. Her reaction? What's the big deal, he still has his mom. Ice cold. That movie came out when I was 5. I remember my mom brought me to see it in theaters. After the movie she took me aside. I was an emotional little girl as well and I suppose she thought I would be bothered by it, and asked me how I felt about Mufasa dying. I remember looking at her and kinda chuckling and then said I don't care, it's not my dad. She sort of just didn't say anything else, but your story got me thinking it must have freaked her out a bit. Haha. Also, I feel it needs to be said that I am a very empathetic person and still quite sensitive as well. I have no idea why I said that, lol. Kids are weird. One Halloween when my son was like 4 our little nuclear family went to a corn maze for fun. To make things a little more exciting the proprietors had also set a teepee with a giant pumpkin inside. You were supposed to go into the teepee and make a wish on the pumpkin. So we sent my son in make a wish and he says I wish it was just me and mommy and daddy was at work. My heart shrank 3 sizes that day. He's 20 now and is still mortified with guilt over saying this. If my kids ever have night terrors I am normally the first one to wake up to go and comfort them. Majority of the time our 2-year-old daughter just screams at me I don't want you, I want mommy, hurts every time. My daughter's inquisitive and brutal honesty. Why are you so fat? Why do you smell? Oh, and when I say we can't afford something she'll just tell me to work harder. Edit. This blew up a bit. I should state my daughter is the loving, caring sort but can sometimes be a bit insensitive. Just like any other child. These instances are few and far between. She makes me laugh daily with the things she says. I consider myself blessed. I am fat. I've lost 2 stone in the last 3 months, I plan to lose more. My daughter may or may not be responsible. I smell like a manly man, unless I've just finished work. Then I smell like a manly man who's just finished work. My daughter has a point until I hit the shower. Cut and colored my hair one time for my birthday. Went from waist-length brown hair to shoulder-length blonde. Drastic change, But I loved the results. My daughter wound up hating it and kept asking why I did it and couldn't I at least color it back to brown and grow it out. My son liked it and kept saying I looked pretty, but damn, my daughter's intense dislike really shit on my parade. It still does every time I go for a touch-up. Ada, this was about 4 years ago. She's a teen now and has since gotten used to my hairstyle, although she still doesn't like the color. I've been growing it out for the past few months and I plan on changing my color again to shake things up. She's totally fine with it. She's very vocal about her preferences, which we encourage. See, when I was younger my mum would wonder out loud whether it was time to change up her hair. I'd always vehemently protest because to me her appearance was just so tied up with who she was and her being mum that it was hard to even consider her not looking like what I knew as her normal self. Really illogical and stupid, but I was a kid. And because I loved her I couldn't get why she wanted to change. Didn't she like the way she already looked? I liked the way she looked. She's mum. That's how mum looks. Etc etc. So maybe she doesn't think it looks bad per se, maybe it's just thoughts like that. Kid logic. I'm a little late to the thread, but my daughter hurts my feelings bad in just one situation. I'll say I love you. And she'll reply with, no daddy, I don't love you. She is only 2 though, and I don't think she has a firm grasp on what love really is, and I think she's truthfully just showing off her vocabulary skills, but it still hurts. Edit. Seems like lots of parents had this happen, and their kids genuinely love them still, so I'll work it all out. Thanks for my highest karma post Reddit. Edit 2. To those still looking at this post, I tried smiling and saying I don't love you too. When she said it to me, she thought it was funny and we went back and forth with it for a bit, so I think we're all good. I remember my dad thought he was going to drive me to San Antonio to drop me off at the military entrance processing station. But my girlfriend at the time did it and I just watched my dad look super sad at the gate while we drove away. Ah man. He wanted to be there so he can see you step through the gates, and get to feel proud of his son. Man, I felt that one. Context, I share 50-50 custody of my girls, ages 4 and 5. Their mom and I were never married but did live together until they were 2 and 3. We live in a tiny town, 2 blocks from one another, and get along great. Dad's answer. We want to go to mom's because she is more fun. Mom's answer, we want to go to dad's because we like his house better, was their original home. Both of us answering, why can't you two just live together, then we wouldn't have to miss mommy or daddy. I bet that last one really stings. It does. Because, from an overly simplistic standpoint, they are right. But, we tried really hard and it just did not and was never going to work. We get along well because we don't live together. And they are just too young to understand. We tell them that we love each other but we are not in love with each other. I spent thousands of dollars in court to stand up to my ex-wife so my son could attend an internship his senior year. He didn't finish the internship, accused me of never supporting him and then went to live with his mother after he graduated because he wanted to smoke weed, forgetting the experience he learned during his internship. Damn, I'm sure that's tough. As a son who has benefited from my parents pushing me through internships and stuff like this, unwillingly, at times, I just want to say I came around and hope your son does too. My parents worked their asses off to open doors for me, and it took me a long time to recognize it. I'm grateful for it now, but I know it hurt them then for me to be so selfish. Give him some time, you sound like a great dad. My kids are 19 and 15. This year they didn't even acknowledge me for Father's Day. For the most part, my wife didn't either. You know who did? My 8-year-old nephew and niece. Made me feel pretty shitty. I'm a stepfather, 3 girls, 3, 7 and 8, and their dad isn't around at all. He sees them for an hour every 3 or 4 weeks when he can be bothered. They are my life and I love them and they always say I'm the only dad they care about. But when he shows up randomly with loads of gifts and buying their love, it all goes out the window. It's I love my daddy. Daddy, you're the best, and did you see what daddy got me? I know they're just children and I know they're just sucked into the false pretenses he gives. But it makes me hurt when it happens. It's crazy to be jealous, I know, but I just want them to myself. Especially when it's clear he has no interest in them at all. I bring them to school, I pay for their trips, their parties, their clothes, their food. I go to their gymnastics lessons, and watch their plays. I do that shit. Man, fuck that guy. Edit. Thanks all for the lovely words. Smile. I can't reply to everyone but I honestly appreciate the support. You're all awesome. My 6-year-old makes levels in Mario Maker that make me die too many times before I can beat them. Petty? Maybe, But I used to be good at Mario before he came along. Also, he prefers to watch YouTubers play games over me, despite having all the games they're playing. They're funny. Mommy feels like chopped liver. Fight, where they really try to hurt each other. I had no idea as a kid how bad it is for the parent. The first time it happened when they were very small, it felt like watching cannibalism, just horrifying. And to think I used to worry about the dog. Yes, I'm an only child, my husband is the middle of 3. When our 2 started doing this I would freak out and yell at them that they are supposed to love each other. My husband assured me it is normal. Now when they fight and come tell on each other I declare it a fight to the death. Once they see mom's on board, it's not cool anymore and they lose interest real quick. I'm speaking from the kid's side, but sharing it because I was devastated the other day to hear my mom's side. When I was young, my brothers and I would tease my mom's singing voice every time we sang together, church, scouting events, whatever. From our side of things, it truly was done very lightheartedly. I loved singing with my mom, her crooked voice was part of that love. A few days ago, I was driving with her. She's in her 70s. A great song came on the radio that I know she loves and I started to sing along, asking her to join me. She did a little, but soon stopped. I asked her why she wouldn't sing with me. Because I have a funny voice. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up button and comment below letting me know. It helps the channel and lets me create more content just like this. If you do like this type of content, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss an upload.